5. Silent stroke warning signs you should never ignore. Even if you feel perfectly healthy, these are early warnings that 80% of people miss. I want you to pause for a moment and really think about this. Not every stroke crashes in like a thunderstorm. Many begin with a quiet whisper, so soft you might not even notice. A hand that feels numb for a few minutes, a strange stumble when you stand up too fast, a moment when your words come out jumbled and you're not sure why. Then you shake your head, give a little smile and say, "Maybe I just didn't sleep well," and you move on. The silent stroke warnings you should never ignore. That's what I want to share with you today. Because even when you feel healthy, there are early signs that 80% of people miss. Here are 5 signs you need to watch for. Toucan to temporary numbness or weakness, a small sign of a big disaster. I want you to pause for a moment and think back to a time in your life when your hands suddenly didn't feel quite right. Maybe you were stirring your morning coffee and your fingers felt clumsy, or brushing your teeth and noticed one side of your face didn't quite respond like usual. A strange sensation, just for a few minutes, then it was gone. It doesn't sound serious, does it? But let me tell you about Walter, a 67-year-old patient of mine. A disciplined man, he never missed his morning walks. One day, while tying his shoes, he felt like his right leg had fallen asleep. Numb, unresponsive, for a few minutes. He shrugged it off, smiled and said, "Probably just bad circulation." 2 days later, he was in the ER with a full-blown stroke, and this time he couldn't tie his shoes at all. What Walter experienced is called a TIA, a transient ischemic attack. It's a mini stroke with a serious message. When the brain is deprived of oxygen, even for a few short minutes, neurons begin to cry for help. Numbness, weakness, a drooping face. These aren't coincidences. They're your body's way of saying, "Do something now," or "Next time I won't whisper, I'll shout." Many patients have told me, "I thought I just slept wrong," or "Maybe it was just a cold coming on." But modern medicine shows us, even a 5 or 10-minute TIA is a red flag, a sign you could have a major stroke within days. And I get it, at our age, little things go wrong all the time. But what makes the difference is whether or not you choose to listen. So if one morning you find your step unsteady, your hand not quite right, your smile a little crooked, don't dismiss it. Don't wait until there's no time left to call for help. See it for what it is, a second chance your brain is giving you. A chance to protect your memory, your independence, your future. And you know what? A simple checkup, a few scans, could be the beginning of preserving all the precious memories you've built. With your children, your grandchildren, your life, for the next 20 years. Sometimes the smallest signs are the loudest knocks from life itself. 2. Sudden trouble, speaking or understanding, your brain's quiet cry for help. Let me tell you a story. One morning, a patient of mine, Janet, 62 years old, was reading a book in her kitchen. Out of nowhere, the words stopped making sense. They weren't blurry, they were just gibberish. She blinked, rubbed her eyes, tried again, still nonsense. Then 5 minutes later, everything returned to normal. She told herself, "Maybe I didn't sleep well," and went on with her day. 3 days later, Janet had a stroke. It hit the language center of her brain. She survived, but even now she struggles to find the right words. Her speech is slow, her sentences broken. That unreadable page? That was her brain's whisper. A brief chance to act before the storm. You see, sudden speech issues, like slurred words, forgetting common phrases, or not understanding what others are saying, aren't just senior moments. They can be signs of a TIA, a transient ischemic attack. It's like the brain pressing the emergency brake for just a moment, warning us that something isn't right. And here's the hard truth. Half of all major strokes happen within a week of a TIA. So I ask you, have you ever felt your words slip away, or tried to speak and felt like the words just wouldn't come? Don't ignore it. It's not just stress. It's not just tiredness. It could be your brain asking for help, quietly, gently, before it no longer can. You don't need to panic, but you do need to act. See your doctor. Get checked. Because when it comes to strokes, a few minutes of confusion today could be the difference between recovery and regret tomorrow. I'm Dr. Robert, and I believe the most important words you ever speak might just be the ones you speak after you listen to your body. 3. Dizziness and loss of balance. When your brain sends a quiet SOS. I want you to picture this. You're stepping down the front porch like you always do, but suddenly you feel unsteady. Your balance slips. It's not hunger, not the heat. It's like your body just stopped following your commands. One of my patients, Peter, 67 years old, told me about a morning walk in the park. Out of nowhere, the ground felt like it tilted beneath him. He wobbled, had to sit down, and after a few minutes, he felt fine again. He blamed it on sitting wrong too long. 3 days later, he had a stroke. The cerebellum, the part of the brain that controls movement and balance, had been quietly calling for help. Have you ever felt something like that? A sudden wave of dizziness, trouble coordinating your hands or feet, like you're slipping out of yourself for a moment? Even if it passes quickly, don't brush it off. It could be a TIA, a transient ischemic attack, your brain's final warning shot before a major stroke. The problem is, most people ignore these signs. They chalk it up to being tired, dehydrated, or getting older. But those brief moments of unsteadiness may be the only chance your brain gets to say, something's not right. I'm Dr. Robert, and I always tell my patients this. When your balance is off, it's not just clumsiness. It could be your brain losing its connection to your body. Don't ignore that signal. Acting early can change everything. 4. That foggy feeling when the brain momentarily disconnects. I want you to imagine this. It's a peaceful morning. You're sitting at the kitchen table, about to get up and pour yourself a cup of coffee. Then suddenly, you forget what you were about to do. The kitchen feels strange, like you've stepped into someone else's house. Your mind, completely blank, like a light switch flipped off for just a moment. Have you ever felt something like that? One of my patients, Bernard, 69 years old, once told me he was driving home, same road he's taken for years, when suddenly he couldn't remember the way. No headache, no dizziness, just like someone unplugged my brain, he said. A few minutes later, he was fine again. He blamed it on poor sleep or stress. But what he'd experienced was a transient ischemic attack, a TIA. That foggy moment many people ignore, it's often not just fatigue or age catching up. It can be your brain signaling that it's not getting enough oxygen because blood flow was briefly interrupted. As a doctor, I've seen it too often. A few minutes of confusion today, a life-changing stroke just days later. The science is clear. A TIA causes no permanent damage, but it's a powerful warning. Miss it and the window to prevent a stroke may close forever. I'm not here to scare you. I just want you to pay closer attention. If you ever feel disconnected, lost in thought, suddenly confused, don't brush it off. Talk to your doctor. Get checked. Because life doesn't give second chances often. And sometimes just 1 minute of awareness can protect decades of memories to come. A sudden, severe headache that feels different. I want you to picture this. You're sitting quietly in your living room. The day feels normal, just like any other. Then, out of nowhere, it hits you. A pounding headache, sharp and intense, like a hammer striking your skull. It's not like your usual tension or sinus headaches. This one feels different. Have you ever felt something like that? One of my patients, Linda, she's 62, told me once, "Doctor, I thought it was just the flu, but that headache, it felt like something inside my head was tearing." Thankfully, she came to the hospital just in time. Turned out, she had a small brain aneurysm that had started to leak. Just a few more hours, and we might have lost her. I'm not sharing this to scare you. I'm sharing it because after over 20 years working with patients over 50, I've seen this pattern again and again. The most dangerous headaches, the ones that signal something truly wrong, are often the ones people ignore. They brush it off. Maybe it's dehydration or just a bad day. But here's the truth. A sudden, severe headache, especially one that feels unlike anything you've experienced before, can be the first sign of a brain bleed or an aneurysm about to rupture. These events don't wait. They don't give second chances. As a physician, I ask just one thing of you. Trust your instincts. If a headache comes on fast, hits hard, and feels unusual, get to a hospital. Don't try to guess, don't wait. Because sometimes acting within 1 hour can mean the difference between 10 more years of life or none at all. I'm Dr. Robert, and I believe listening to your body is one of the most loving things you can do for yourself. 6. Fainting or brief loss of consciousness. When your body whispers before it shouts. I want you to imagine this for a moment. It's a quiet morning like any other. You're making a cup of coffee, then suddenly the room spins. Everything goes dark, just for a second. You come to, shake it off, and think, maybe I stood up too fast. Maybe I skipped breakfast. And you carry on as if nothing happened. Have you ever felt something like that? A brief blackout, just a few seconds, no pain, no real warning. But what if I told you that might have been your brain's quiet plea for help? One of my patients, David, 71 years old, a retired carpenter, strong as an ox, was out for his usual walk when he suddenly collapsed. He got up moments later, laughed it off. "Doc, I just tripped." But what he didn't realize was that his brain had been momentarily starved of blood. 2 weeks later, David suffered a full stroke while sleeping. As a physician, I'm not here to scare you, but I do believe in telling the truth. Fainting, dizziness, these aren't always harmless. When blood flow to the brain drops, even briefly, your body may hit the pause button, like a power outage in a fragile system. Too many of us brush it off. We power through fatigue, blame stress, dehydration, aging. But if your body speaks, even in a whisper, please listen. See your doctor. Get your blood pressure checked. An EKG, a simple neck artery scan. It doesn't take much to prevent something big, because the most dangerous health problems often arrive quietly and leave devastation behind. And I've always believed when we learn to listen to our bodies, we start learning how to save ourselves. 7. When you can't raise both arms to shoulder height, I want you to try something with me right now if you can. Sit up straight, relax your shoulders, and gently raise both arms up to shoulder height. Easy, right? Feels normal. But what if one day you try that same simple move, and one arm just won't follow? It drops, feels heavy, weak. Maybe you think, I must have slept on it wrong. But let me tell you, sometimes that small sign is your brain whispering, I'm in trouble. I once had a patient, Samuel, 63, a lifelong carpenter, strong, never missed a day's work. One morning, while joking around, his wife said, "Hands up, mister." He laughed, lifted his arms, and noticed his right arm just didn't move like it should. 2 hours later, Samuel was in the ER. He'd had a stroke. That moment in the kitchen, that was his warning shot. He just didn't know it. Have you ever felt one arm weaker than the other, even for just a minute? Or maybe your steps felt a little off, like your balance was playing tricks on you? These brief changes can be signs of a TIA, a transient ischemic attack. Your brain is being starved of oxygen, even if just for moments. In my 20 years working with patients over 50, one thing's clear: the body never lies. It always speaks. Question is, are we listening? If one arm doesn't rise when the other does, you may be standing at a crossroads between a second chance or a stroke that changes everything. The difference lies in what you do next. And I truly believe this. If we pay attention even just a little closer, we all have the power to save ourselves. Stroke never knocks loudly at the door. It whispers through a subtle sign, a fleeting feeling, and then quietly takes away the things we hold most dear. But if you listen just a little earlier, just a little more closely, you might not only save your memory, your voice, or your ability to walk. You might save the seasons ahead with the people you love.